friends there. Anyway, he's got an 1.5-hour video on YouTube. And so basically the same people that are in his book, he interviews in that video. Anyway, so there's a lot of material there for reincarnation for people who are interested in that. And then when you touch on that subject, of course, they say, what reincarnates, right? How do we reincarnate? And it opens up the whole door for explaining the nature of the soul in Bhagavad Gita and everything else. So, in this way, and then of course you've got your book, which is such a good book for speaking to people about, how does it all work, how does it come from. Intelligent design it's actually good science, but the scientists, like Prabhupada could recognize, not always interested in the truth, right? So, for example, I don't know if you have this in your book, I wrote on this sometime back, and I don't have the statistics exactly right, but I think it's in Drew Karma's work too, or Sariputa's book, about the chance combination of amino acids to form one protein, right? So proteins are chains of amino acids, they have to come together in a particular sequence. There's 22 amino acids, or 24, and so you've got 24 possibilities in each spot, and then an average protein is about 1,000 amino acids long. So if you have a sea of amino acids just floating around and chance combination of them, how long does it take you just by chance? Okay, you have one chance combination every second. Right? So by chance, in statistics, it's a very well-known field of mathematics. What's the statistical probability, or let's say you can calculate, how long is it going to take to form one protein of 1,000 amino acids? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can make the calculation, yeah.
It's something like 1/10 raised to the 60th power, or 80th power.
Much more.
Much more?
It's actually there are 20 amino acids, and it's calculation is like 200 amino acids length. That's like an average protein.
Okay.
And to get just one particular, you want one particular sequence.
Right.
That's something like 1 out of 10 raised to the 250th power.
Really?
Yeah.
250?
Yeah.
Now also, the statisticians, they say that any event with odds less than 1 divided by 10 raised to the 50th power, right? So that's 10 with 50 zeros after it. 1 divided by that number, so it's a very, very small probability. Anything less than that they consider impossible. Not that there's a small chance, however infinitesimal it might be. No, it's impossible. So that's just for one protein, right? And the average cell has hundreds of proteins. It was calculated, I remember the calculation for the odds of creating one cell in that same way is 1 divided by 10 raised to the 360 millionth power. So way impossible, right? So there's one other scientist, Joseph Crick, if you know that name. He was one of the co-founders of the DNA molecule. He came to the conclusion that, evolution is impossible, therefore life here must have come from somewhere else. And they have a theory that's called transfermium, that life comes from somewhere else. Well, that's our idea too, right? So you've got a bridge there for these people. And then you got that other nice book there, Nature's IQ, which is really, did they make a video with that yet? I'd like to see the video, I haven't seen it. Anyway, I saw that book when Advaita Chanda, he was the publisher for that book, and he asked me to maybe rewrite the introduction or something. So I saw it and I thought, well, this is really a nice book. We can do a lot of preaching with that book, especially if you have the video, or even if you can put together a great PowerPoint presentation. So there's, we need to create a way for people to connect, for them to see, yes, there's there's some truth here. And then with that, then there's a bridge, they can get more and more. So there's a lot of preaching to be done in these ways, and it's very exciting actually. Now you may know, or you may not know that in Pune, we have a temple in Pune, India. They just, I think, recently opened up the new temple. But the temple president there, he's got a advanced degree from IIT, India Institute of Technology. And they do a lot of preaching to the students in Pune. You know about that? They go out, I think, outside of Pune, they're preaching in universities all over India. And they're creating, they want to have a brahmachari ashram. I think they built the new brahmachari ashram to hold 300 brahmacharis, right? So they go out, and they don't, in their preaching, they don't show themselves as a devotee, they just, and they don't tell the boys that they're preaching to, and you know, they're very careful how they cultivate them, because if the boys' parents find out that they're going to become Hare Krishnas, they won't be happy at all. Right? They're sending them to university to get a good job and make a lot of money. So anyway, they've got a very well-developed program for preaching to these students, and they're very, very successful with that. And they're preaching generally to scientific students, a lot of engineers and scientists. So you can find out what their processes. They start with some books. I see you've got one book in here by Chaitanya. Is he Chaitanya Chandra Charan? Or Chaitanya Chandra, I forget. There's, no. There's one other boy from IIT. One other book, rather, from a boy from IIT here. Anyway, this one devotee, Chaitanya Chandra, he's one of the editors of Indian Bhagavatam magazine. He writes a column in a newspaper, Indian newspaper, and he's got a lot of small little books about stress management and time management and this and that, and he's written in such a clever way as to always bring it back and connect it with Krishna. So there's a lot of resources that you can use. You don't have to write all this stuff yourself, but if you can get his materials, you can get his stuff. Somebody can translate it or use it in English. And even from these things that people, these mundane kind of things that people are interested in, you can bring people to Krishna consciousness. Ayurveda is another one. There's probably the most successful preacher in all of Russia. His name is Dhaneswara. He's a doctor. He's a regular doctor, and then he studied Ayurveda. And Bhakti Dhaneswara told me that he makes probably 90% of the devotees in Russia. This one devotee. And what does he do? At the Russian festival one year, I went to hear his presentation. And it was pretty boring, actually, from my perspective. I mean, he was talking just about the gunas and some simple, very simple things. But the room was packed, and it was packed with not devotees. All of his followers, they came to the Russian festival, the festival of devotees, to hear him speak. I saw him speak another time in Kiev. Same thing, all his followers from all over Ukraine, they came to hear him speak at the Sunday Feast lecture in the Hare Krishna temple. And he presents, we don't, our message is so far beyond the ability of most people to grasp. You have to really just water it down, water it down, and water it down. And when you get a little crystal, a little grain of truth, just a little thing, you might be able to catch that. And so what he does, he doesn't, Adharya, he doesn't mention the word Krishna, he just goes so slowly with them. But they come along, and then it's a little bit about gunas, a little bit about Ayurveda, and then gradually cooking, and maybe over the course of several years, then they become devotees. One time I was in the Lithuanian festival, And there was a Mataji there from England. And she was telling me her story about, she was in England, she's Russian, no, she's from Lithuania. And she's living in England, working some kind of professional job. And through some friend of her recommended to listen to a tape of Angarina. So she listened to his tapes. She was listening to them for 2 years. And she was like very captivated. It was really neat, very intriguing for her. She was coming along. And then after 2 years, she heard one tape that he said something about Krishna, right? The word Krishna. And she went, oh my God, he's those people? So she put the two together finally, and she was really shocked. But then she became a devotee, right? After hearing and understanding all of this teaching, then she could read Prabhupada's books and say, oh yes, look, it's right there, yes. So, anyway, the point is that people can't digest this message as well as we can. You know, there's a lot of people that just like, they get a case of indigestion. It's just like overwhelming for them. So you have to give them just a little sliver at a time. And then gradually, more and more. You should learn to kind of keep it.
It was just that it's a Chalma, and that you talked to Priya Chalma on the home program at Bianca Nichols' place, and that doctor, she and her husband was also just coming like twice a year, very rarely to the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an Ayurvedic doctor, Shamavalabha from Chopati Temple. He is in Denmark now 3 months a year, giving some lectures at the university. He doesn't come here much, but he is giving some seminars in his place here that he has rented. And he is one of the who has gotten the most out of that and is becoming more enthusiastic. Now she bought Ayurveda from him. So like you're saying that it's just very inspiring.
Yeah. So, many times, because, you know, we're so taken by the Bhagavatam, so taken by these stories, we think that, you know, everybody should just be able to get it, but they can't. I mean, even, you know, many people, even they get these books, and they can't really understand them. They sit on the shelf, but they act. Many times when I ask devotees, so how long did you have one of Prabhupada's books on the shelf before you actually started reading it? Many times the devotees will say 5 years, 10 years, like that. You know, they get a book and it just sits there, and then finally someday they decide to read it, and they go, oh. Anyway, the point is that most people, it's too much for them. So we have to find a way to make it very, very simple. And then just spoon feed them, like a child, a little bit more. It's actually an art to make it simple. And it's sometimes difficult, at least, you know, for my writing, you know, I thought about how do I make this more simple? And it's a lot of work. But Einstein said, you know, how is it that, I forget, it's something about making everything simple is the ideal. True eloquence, and Prabhupada, I was about to know that. True eloquence is, what was it called?
Essential truth, concisely spoken, is true eloquence.
Yeah. And it's work to actually get to the essential truth, concisely spoken.
Lincoln once sent a letter to a friend and said, I'm writing you a long letter because I do not have time to write you a short one.
Yeah. Very true. Comments, questions?
Do we have any one of these preaching programs, how to give them to the youth? Because I would like to be very much part of some of these programs to do this bridge preaching on. Because many times when people come here, we don't know if we should give directly the philosophy, rather, like you said, slowly inject them with the philosophy. ISKCON today, we have, of course we have Bhakti Shastras and those for our own spiritual development, but to go out and preach, sort of bridge preaching, like you said, do we have a format where we can...
There's different people that have different things. I've heard, but I haven't confirmed it yet, the Deva Swami in New Zealand, that they actually have a place aside from the temple where they invite people to come. They don't tell them anything about the deities and this and that, they just bring them to this place, they present lectures like that, and then gradually after some time, after they've been cultivated for some time and they're ready to understand more about, the soul, nature of the soul and the God and so on, so then later on they'll take them to the temple. Anyway, I'm bringing these examples because you can try to find out from these other devotees in different places, from Chaitanya Chandra in Pune, from Adayagam in Russia, from Dhaneswara Swami. So find out what these devotees are doing and how they're doing their preaching, and just borrow what they've got. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. But there's a lot going on, and of course, you look and see what's going to work for you here. But when you go down that road, it's not that you're going to have a complete idea when you first start, but if you just start in that direction with good intention, Krishna will show you, he'll reveal to you, you'll get ideas. But you have to begin the practice, you have to begin to start that. Yeah.
On book distribution, when people they ask questions and they're interested in what we're doing like that, what's the most essential part of explaining about the philosophy, like to make it simple for them?
It's all time, place, and circumstance for book distribution. But, it depends on what you're telling them about the book. You have to explain to them about the book. And also, anybody's distributing books, you must have your own visit card. You put your card, you give them your card after they take the book. And if you have any questions, call me. And then, hopefully they'll call you with some questions, and then you can begin to cultivate a relationship with them and help them in their understanding. To just give up books without them having any connection, they may read it and go, okay, too much. But what you can try to do is to actually establish a relationship with them, right? So there has some connection, and then you give me your card, and then tell them, call me, write to me, and then in this way you can answer their questions. As far as specifics, for its time, place, and circumstance, you have to depend on Super Soul. Okay.
Normally we invite them for the Sunday feast. We just give them a flyer if they're interested and say, well, you can come, but maybe it's better to do it more personally. Say, this is my phone number, and if there's anything, you can call me.
Yeah. And sure, and invite them to the Sunday feast. Now, do we have a greeter at the Sunday feast? Do you have somebody that greets the guests? You do that?
ACBSP.
Okay, good. And you're there when they leave also?
Try to be, not always.
Okay, yeah, it's important. In Kiev Temple, I don't know how you do for donations here, but in Kiev, one of the devotees stands at the door where everybody's going out and they give donation to him. So he's standing there with a big wad of money, and whoever goes out, they get the idea, well, I should give something too. It's nice that we give things freely, but we really want to teach people the idea of reciprocation. If we're just giving, then, the way this society works is people take. For example, when we did the deity paraphernalia last Friday, right? It was, whoever made the announcement was saying, It's free, right? And I heard the girl was saying, no, it's not free. we gotta get some donation, right? So then we can make some more jewelry for the deities. So I don't know how much was collected, you know?
I don't know.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I gave 15 euros because that's all I had on me, but I saw everyone there. So we have to teach people the idea of reciprocation. Spiritual life means reciprocation. It's not that we just go to, you know, the kind of the Christian idea, Judeo-Christian idea of God is give me these, this, that. So we're receiving, and then if the way the culture works is, you know, we have to get something, we have to get money, but if somebody's giving free, then, oh, okay, that means I just get, but there's no concept of reciprocation. But reciprocation is extremely important in spiritual life. What is Krishna doing in his relationships? How is he enjoying? He's enjoying the reciprocation of love with his devotees. What the devotees giving to Krishna, Krishna's giving to them. And it's this reciprocation, this exchange of love, which is so captures the heart in the mind of the devotees. So we want to teach that. We don't want to teach free. It's nice to have free, but better that we understand reciprocation and different ways that we can reciprocate. If you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be money, but there's different ways to reciprocate. So, for example, last Monday we had what was it? Last day before yesterday, Saturday, we did this seminar about gift economy. And a lot of people had a lot of different ideas about what a gift economy was, but the idea is just the idea of giving, you know, I started to explain that, you know, Prabhupada, he's given us basically a gift economy. The way he set up his temples, Prabhupada's giving. He said, I haven't come to your country, America, to take anything, to get anything. I've simply come to give you this Krishna consciousness. And then he's trained us that in book distribution, we go out and we distribute the books, we give the books, and then we, you know, explain them to people. And then, now, you know, of course, if you can give something back freely, you know, we're not selling these books, we're distributing them, but you can reciprocate with the donation. So this whole movement is based on this idea of freely giving, but also reciprocation. And sometimes we lose sight of that. So I want to encourage you to remember this and to train the guests, particularly the guests who come to the Sunday feast, in this concept of reciprocation. That, you know, of course we like to get, receive, but it's also wonderful to give. And moreover, by giving, we receive, right? We all experience this. And when we give a gift, when we do something, when we give some charity from the heart, it actually gives us a wonderful feeling, right? And we can experience that in this culture, at Christmas and in somebody's birthday, you know, or some anniversary or something like that, we may give a gift. But why not every day? Krishna consciousness is meant to be like that, where we're giving every day from the heart, and Krishna, he's reciprocating. There's a lot of examples of that. There's one woman in America, she called herself Peace Pilgrim. In the early 50s, during the build-up of the nuclear arms race between the Soviet Union and America, she wanted to protest that. So she walked from her house in Los Angeles all the way across America to New York City, something like 3,000 miles or something. And she didn't take any money with her. She just took her message, and along the way, she was just depending on God. And people would stop and interview her, give her a place to stay, feed her, take care of her. So she's written a few books. In one of her books, she recounts how when a reporter was interviewing her and saying, well, you know, you don't work, why don't you work? And she said, what do you mean I don't work? I work 18 hours a day. She said, you mean I don't work for money? She said, but I'm working, what? I'm working to give this information to people, to share what I've got. And she said, what you find is if you give, that it's impossible not to receive. You give, and you must receive. And so she had a very powerful message like that. There's other people, for example, who are doing some giving in the really, really free market in New York and other places. Anybody heard of the really, really free market? I'm going to try to get some of the Occupy people or maybe even devoted, somebody can start one here. This started in 2004 in one of the protests at the IMF or something like that. And so there were some radical people there who were trying to overturn cars and do some mayhem. And so on, bystander, he said to the person, he says, well, we know what you're against. You know, you're against this, but what are you guys actually for? So they had to stop and scratch their head. Yeah, right, what are we for? Good idea, what a concept. So they went back home after that and they started thinking about what are we for? So they started the really, really free market in which they went and they found things that they didn't need anymore, and they decided that they was just going to give them away. And so they, like, you know, any garage sale, or I don't know what you call it here, you know, people sell things for their house periodically. So they put up a bunch of tables with things on them, and people would come by and say, oh, that's nice, how much do you want for that? And the person would say, that's free. Yeah, right. Yeah. How much do you want for it? No, it's really free. Come on, you're not giving it away. How much do you want? No, it's really, really free. So this is how they started the really, really free market. And this is going on in about half a dozen cities in America. Periodically, you know, people, they go out, they just ask people to give stuff out of their attic that they haven't used in 5 years and probably never going to use again, and just give it away to somebody who can make use of it. So there's a lot of people starting to think about this gift idea, the gift economy. There's many different expressions of it. Did I tell you about the Karma Cafe? Yeah? No? I forget where I told it, so somebody is saying this. I'll tell you about the Karma Cafe. It's called the Karma Kitchen, actually. And it's in Berkeley, California, and you go there to eat, you sit down, they come and take your order, they bring you a meal, and it's a nice restaurant, everything's first class, and then after you're done eating, they bring you your check, and it says, you owe $0.00. Your meal has been paid for by somebody that came before you, and if you like, you can leave a donation for somebody who comes after you. And they give you an envelope, you put whatever you want in there, and then put it in some drop box. Nobody knows if you give it $100 or no, nothing. It's entirely voluntary, and the idea is to encourage people to think about giving to others instead of just having the mentality of taking and getting, to develop the idea of giving. Not because you have to, not because it's required, but simply because it's a good thing to do. So these movements, they're growing tremendously. People, they want to have a different world. They don't like this world. They don't, but you know, most people, they don't know how to find their way out of it or what to do. So if you give them an opportunity to do something different, that's more in harmony with what their values are, they'll be very happy. So we should make that our business also, to help them find a way to change the way that they live.